Today, we are going to discuss Trump and the Epstein client list and the future of it. We're going to talk about Mike Johnson and the tricky stuff he's doing within the House. And then we are going to transition into talking about some things that are happening in Gaza and some things that are happening with Palestine and Israel. And you're not going to want to miss this because everything is about to get crazy. If it hasn't been crazy enough already, things are about to get even crazier. And I hope you're buckled up. You're in a nice good seat, a nice good position, because this stuff is going to get crazy. So where we have, starting off, we have reports. It was on July 22nd. So again, this I'm recording to you today on July 27th. But on July 22nd, we have that Speaker Johnson cut House business short so that they could avoid a vote on releasing the Epstein files. Of course, Mike Johnson got pressed on this. He was like, oh, no, we're not, blah, blah, blah. We're not cutting it short because of the Epstein vote, which they have the votes to force that vote. Because think about it. If we go to a vote, you have one or two options. You have option number one as a congressman to say, yeah, we should declassify that stuff. It should be made public. We should be allowed to know who the pedophiles are within our government. Or you vote no and you say, basically, I'm on that list. We should not be having that out there. And so taking a step back, basically Speaker Mike Johnson announced on Tuesday, and this is reporting by the New York Times, that he was cutting short the week's legislative business and sending House home early for summer on Wednesday to avoid having to, quote, hold votes on releasing Epstein's file related to accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Now, of course, that's the New York Times reporting that. Mike Johnson did not. I said quotes there, but Mike Johnson did not say that. So as the New York Times is reporting, Mr. Johnson will for now deny, and they kind of take a partisan thing here where they say deny Democrats the chance to force procedural votes, but you have Republican lawmakers also saying that they would vote for this, and they have the votes to push it to the floor. And here's the quote, though, from Mike Johnson that I find hilarious, and I'm glad they included this. He said, quote, "We're done being lectured on transparency," end quote. Mr. Johnson, you and every single person in Congress reports to the American people. We will lecture you on transparency as much as we want because that is one of your only responsibilities. You owe it to us, to the American people, to be transparent. And if you cannot, and if you're tired of us telling you you need to be transparent, then it's likely that you are not being transparent at all. It is your responsibility because you essentially work for us. Your paycheck comes from us to report to the American citizens, to report to us. That is your duty. That is your responsibility. So we will continue to lecture you on transparency. We will continue to lecture you on your responsibility to us. Because in Congress right now, there is no transparency. There is no accountability neither. So we need both of these things to reemerge within our political system. Because right now, the only accountability, the only respect that is given is for the donor class, the people that donate, the lobbyist groups, the ones who pay your budget, pay your bill, get you reelected, put you in positions of power, because we know that you do not serve us. The American people at this point know that you do not serve us. The American people know that our government no longer serves us. They know that you serve the corporations and the governments who pay you to make laws that benefit them. Oh, we'll hurt the American people here, but we get more money. We know that that's how it's all set up. We're not blind to it. We're not blind to it at all. We know that that is how the system is rigged. And what got even funnier is later, and they have a quote here, is that he said that he insisted that Republicans, quote, have been intellectually consistent the entire time, end quote. First of all, that's a lie. Go back to someone play the reel of how many times Trump has sat there and said, oh, we should release Epstein. We should release Epstein. We should release Epstein. We should release Epstein. And now it's all hush hush. It's like, what files? We're talking about this still? You guys are crazy. And then, not to mention, Trump then goes out of his ways to re-embellish this whole Obama hoax. So first of all, hold on. I don't even want to call it a hoax. I don't know if it's a hoax or not. I haven't spent time digging into it and diving deep into it, but I will tell you what it is for sure. It is Trump trying to divert us off of the main objective, which is getting the Epstein files, understanding who the pedophiles are in our government and the governments of the world. Because if you think that Epstein was only blackmailing Americans, completely mistaken. He has been blackmailing the leaders of the entire world, to give a little file, likely to Mossad, in order for them to blackmail our politicians. And not just ours, but the entire world. Because if you have a blackmail on every single person in the entire world, guess what happens? You control them. You control all of them. And what was crazy is there was a viral video going around recently. And to prove this, I think this is, maybe it's not the smoking gun, but I think it is anecdotal evidence. But Jeffrey Epstein, there was a video that came out recently of him leaving his New York apartment with, I believe it was either the niece or the daughter of the Australian Prime Minister. Underage, too, at the time. I'm sure they were talking about how to invest her billions of dollars because he was a hedge fund manager, right? And then, to put the cherry on top, Mike Johnson also quoted saying, "We're not going to play political games with this." Sir, your entire job, your entire ethos, your entire being is playing political games. By you avoiding this vote is playing a political game. You are not putting the American people first. You are putting your interests first. Maybe he's on the list. I have no idea. It was kind of funny, too, because there was a video of Trump saying, why is everyone talking to me about the Epstein list? Why does everyone think I'm the one on the Epstein list? Why aren't they talking about you, Speaker Johnson? Why aren't they talking about you, Schumer? And he went down the list of all these people. And the only thing I could think whenever I was watching this was, is he labeling everyone who's on that list? Is he telling us that it's basically our entire government? Could you imagine how crazy that would be? The insanity that would erupt from that. So in the event, for some reason, maybe Trump isn't on that list, even though he was buddies with Epstein, maybe it's under this guise that the American people couldn't handle the amount of people, the amount of celebrities, the amount of influence that pedophiles have within the entire world. And so for the sake of keeping the norm and keeping people peaceful, we shouldn't release it. And to me, I feel like that's as evil as it gets. And if you want to go to the next level of this, 3 days later on the 25th, a reporter asked Trump roughly, he said, and this is by Newsweek, but I saw the video. I don't want to play the video right now. Okay, here's the quote. A reporter asked Trump whether he would consider giving a pardon or communication to Maxwell on Friday. So this was the 25th. He said, quote, "It's something I haven't thought about," Trump said as he prepared to depart from the White House. And he said, quote, "I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I haven't thought about." It's something I haven't thought about. What a world we live in. What a world we live in where people are not an unequivocal no. You're not even going to explain that answer. Like maybe he could say, well, if she gives us up more information that we don't already have about it, we could consider it. Like maybe that is a better answer than, well, I haven't really thought about it. I'm allowed to do it. I could do it if I wanted to. I'm the president. I mean, it's getting to the point where every single day that goes by, it makes it harder and harder for me to not believe that he's on the list, that he was one of the clients. I mean, look, I try my best, guys. I'm honest with you. I try my best to not jump to conspiracy theories. I try to speak on what is known. In my private life, I say the wildest stuff. But whenever I'm speaking to people who are listening to me, whenever I'm putting content out there, I try to at least be measured at some regard. I like at least, what is the smoking gun? What is it that's absolutely provable? But when you look at the pattern of actions that are being taken by him, by our Congress, by the people of the world, by the fact that he keeps trying to divert our attention off of this whenever he campaigned on releasing these files, what's going on? The only thing that I can surmise is that he's potentially on it. And if he's not on it, the entire government's on it. And the only reason he wouldn't release it is to avoid chaos and confusion and anger from all the people. But look, you want to talk about transparency? That's the transparency. Letting us know we're not going to continue to be lectured on transparency, Mr. Okay, Mike Johnson. No, I'll continue to lecture you on transparency because that is your duty. I get that there are things that need to remain secret within the government. If you're a secret, you have a secret clearance, you have top secret, whatever clearances you may or may not have. There's certain military operations. Of course, you have to keep certain things secret. But for us to know whether or not all of our elected officials are pedophiles, that's pretty high up there on the list of that should be transparent. And then the sick thing is that they could argue, well, it's in our national security not to do it. This is the sick thing, is that they could sit there and say, well, because it would cause pandemonium and uprisings and panic and fear and anger. And so it might be in the best interest of our national security that we don't release this information. Because we wouldn't want people to go crazy and get mobs, and then we'd have to release like the National Guard, and then we might have to shoot some people. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Tiananmen Square. To my editor, you probably have to bleep Tiananmen Square out. So make sure you go to this location to see it uncensored. This video. But what is the other explanation, right? You have two options here, in my opinion. Number one, Trump is on the pedo list and is telling essentially Pam Bondi and Kash Patel they can't release it. Or they're all on it. I don't think they are, but they're all on it. Or two, they're all being blackmailed in another way, which makes it even worse. Or three, they just don't want to have civil unrest. They want to keep everyone nice and tight. They want to take care of their public donors. They want to put the elite ahead of the individual person. I mean, all those avenues are sick to me. Is there any avenue that exists that would not be disgusting in that regard? I mean, I think it's crazy. But let me take the glasses off here for this one. But what I do have to say is that there are some things that are turning upward. There is some life coming back into the world. What I am talking about is recent, how would you phrase this? Let me see what the words they use here. Recent support, if you will, recent declarations that have arisen out of a joint statement by the UK, by Britain, by UK, by Canada, and by France. Oh, where? We have them coming out and saying that in a joint declaration was the word I'm looking for, they condemned Israel's military operations in Gaza and supported a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. And they advocated for the creation of an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. Shouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we do that? Wouldn't that cause peace in the region? That has been America's policy for the last 70 years until Trump changed it. He said, no, we're just going to level it. People are living there. Yeah, they got to go, or we're just going to, we're going to have to either forcibly remove them, or they're just going to have to get removed in place. And I think that, I think that this joint statement was amazing for so many reasons. Number one, UK and France are both nuclearly armed countries, which means that it gives them a little bit more leverage on the world stage. And so it says, hey, yeah, like we're putting our name on Palestinian statehood. And I believe it says that I might have deleted the other one, but they're going to declare it officially in September. I forget where it was, State of the Union, or probably in the UN something. But where it gets interesting, I want to see. Here it is. This is where, okay, this quote right here shows Bibi Netanyahu's prime example of his intentions. Now, I was always kind of like a little bit on the fence. I was kind of like a little bit back, like, you know, maybe there's a way that he's like, you know, actually doing what he feels right, that it's actually like Palestinians, you know, kind of who are fighting back. But I think like, and let me be honest here, that was probably like 5%, like not a lot. But this statement right here, guys, this statement right here moved that 5% to 0. I am now 100% certain in one thing, and I'll get to that, what it is, after I read this statement. You know what? No, I'm going to tell you beforehand. I am now 100% certain that he is going for the Greater Israel Project. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to tell you in a second here. But essentially, what Bibi said in response to this is, quote, "Now, these leaders think that they're advancing peace. They're not. They're emboldening Hamas to continue fighting forever. And they give them hope to establish a second Palestinian state from which Hamas will again seek to destroy the Jewish state." Which means that he believes that if any Palestinians survive, if any area survives that is considered Palestinian, he believes that that is an existential threat to his Jewish state, Israel. Which means that there is and never was any room for peace or negotiation on his behalf. All the propaganda that you see about Hamas leaving the negotiation table, all the deals being made, have been a complete lie. Complete lie. It is clear now, absolutely crystal clear, that Benjamin Netanyahu, assisted by Donald J. Trump, have never been negotiating in good faith in order for this to happen. And you also have to remember that Hamas is a response, a military response to what Israel has done to the people of Gaza, the people of the West Bank, the occupation there, the siege essentially that they have placed on them, monitoring who can go in and go out of these areas. You have to realize that as well. And I'm not saying Hamas is good. Obviously, they're not peaceful by any stretch of the imagination, but you have to realize that Hamas is a response to this occupation, the evil essentially that has been perpetuated on the people of Palestine and Gaza. And furthermore, it's not like they've had a vote anytime recently of moving out Hamas leadership. No, they get radicalized. How many bombs need to be dropped on your head for you to be like, no, enough is enough, I'm fighting back? If someone was to occupy, let's say your state, pick your state, for instance, and America said, Pennsylvanians or Californians, you no longer are a part of the Americas, and we're going to essentially block off your entire state lines. We're going to determine who comes in and out of your state. And then, just because, we're going to just destroy and level everything there. Do you not think that that state would radicalize in some way, shape, or form because they need to fight back? And it's not even radical. That's just self-preservation. That's a human instinct to want to stay alive. And so for Benjamin Netanyahu to come out and say, gosh, so I'm so glad. I'm like, it's devastating all that is happening, but it's so fascinating to see this come out now, see how this happens. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful because he's putting his cards on the table, essentially, that he says, look, we can't allow that to happen because they'll just, kill us if we allow them to regroup. So he's basically admitting that all of them got to go, that he has to completely wipe out West Bank. He has to wipe out Gaza so that they can, completely take over Israel. That entire region. And they're going to grow. I'll tell you in a second about that. But so in the joint declaration, by the UK, Canada, and France, condemning their actions, said, quote, "We will not stand by while the Netanyahu government pursues these egregious actions. If Israel does not cease the renewed military offensive and lift its restrictions on humanitarian aid, we will take further concrete actions in response." Amazing. Amazing. I think that's so great. I mean, a little late, but, I'm not going to, beggars can't be choosers. It's glad that it's finally happening. And what you have to realize, and what this confirms in my mind. So first of all, by Benjamin Netanyahu's response, I'm 100% convinced that the peace talks were a complete sham, complete, smoke and mirrors, complete lie. And then they come out and say, oh, Hamas is negotiating in bad faith. Are you kidding me? Clearly they want the peace. Clearly they don't want this. And, even if Hamas is negotiating bad faith, it's very evident that Israel does not want peace either. They want to completely wipe out Hamas. They want to completely they want to take over Gaza. They want to take over the West Bank. They want to take over the Heights. What is it called again? I'm forgetting the name of the Heights. Is it like the Goblin Heights? Oh, this is embarrassing. But I do want to get on to my next point, which is now, maybe before I was at, like, publicly speaking, behind the scenes, I have a different opinion, but publicly, I'm just kidding. That's the politician coming out of me. No, but seriously, the idea of greater Israel, right, is, let me see if I can find a picture for myself at least. The idea of greater Israel is essentially this massive expansion by Israel. Okay, here it is. And the founder of let me see here. Okay, so what is it? Number one, greater Israel is an expression with a biblical and political meaning to which it has deferred and evolved over time. It is called the Zionist plan for the Middle East. Now, look, so what I'm talking about here is, like, I've always kind of been like maybe 80% on board with it. But now I think after Benjamin Netanyahu's claims, like, and the way that we've seen the world play out since 9/11, to me, I'm on like 95% sure that this is his plan. Number two, the concept of a, quote, greater Israel, end quote, according to the founding father of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, is a Jewish state stretching from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates, which would include historic Palestine, South Lebanon, up to Sudan, and the Litani River. It would include Syria's Golan Heights. There it is, Golan Heights. The Golan Heights, Yoran Plain in Judea. It would include Hejaz Railway from Judea to Amman, Jordan, as well as the Gulf of Aqaba. And this implies that greater Israel is the inclusion of Palestine in Israel. So again, like I said, and they have an entire little red, section here. This is a great picture. I hope I'm going to have to send this picture to my editor so we can put it on the screen here if you're watching. Many historians and international relation watchers state that this is the reason Israel is slowly and strategically grabbing more and more land from its neighbors, especially Palestine. See, they have to start off with Palestine, and then they can expand. They can expand to Israel. They can expand to Jordan. They can expand into Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, all of it. They can expand it on take it all if they wish. That's what their goal is, at least. For while many other Zionists also say that greater Israel included the land from the Nile to the West Bank, to the Euphrates to the east, comprising Palestine, Lebanon, Western Syria, and Southern Turkey. So, like, there's other Zionists who want even more. And we're going to show that picture on screen here. I'm going to have to include this to my editor. However, it's also important to keep in mind that the design of Greater Israel may not strictly be a Zionist project for the Middle East. Many experts and academics have stated recently that it is an integral part of U.S. foreign policy, aiming to extend U.S. hegemony, I don't know what that means, to the Middle East, as well as fracturing and balkanizing the Middle East. 6. Wow, there's a lot of elements to this. I didn't realize it was this much. Such a policy being pursued by the U.S. in the region goes along with the Zion plan. Okay, so first of all, we're getting into a lot of stuff here that I didn't even know about. And so I'm definitely going to be unqualified at this time to speak on it. But I think the point here is that, and just to keep it simple, taking over Palestine is not the end goal of Israel. It's just a step to the end goal, which is taking over this entire region. Now, I don't know if Netanyahu has publicly said that or not, but like, to me, that's just what seems inevitable. They're not happy with anyone who isn't Jewish. They want to take over more and more land. And I'm always hesitant whenever I say this stuff because it's not all Jews. You have to realize that there are plenty of Jews that are very much against the Israeli government. And I think it's very important to also establish the difference between the Israeli government, Zionism, and Jews, because they're all different. And I think that the media today has done a very good job of bringing them all together into one word, into the one idea, one same thing, when they're all completely different. You can be a Jew, you can be an Israeli, you can be a Zionist. You can be all three, but you could be a Jew living in America that is not an Israeli. You could be a Jew in Israel who disagrees with Zionism, or you could be a Jew who lives in Israel and likes Zionism, or you could be a Jew who lives outside of Israel who's not Israeli and be with Zionism. Like, it's like a Venn diagram. They're just not, they're not all brought together. And I think that's super important. That gets blown over all the time, you know, in the conversation. And so I think, just big picture, we have to find a way. We have to find a way to come together. We have to find a way to stop this. And I think huge kudos to Ukraine, or to the UK, to France, and to, who was the last one? Canada. It's pretty cool to see that. Hopefully they make it to September so they can say that on the world stage. I believe they're planning to say it. I think it was at a UN conference. So that'll be cool to see if that happens. It'll be pretty monumental. So yeah, big things happening. So I think we should be optimistic. I think we should be optimistic that we can see that the end of this terror, this terror is coming to an end. At least, hopefully. Who knows? Maybe it's the darkest before the dawn, but we'll see. We'll see, because I mean, in Gaza, you see videos coming out of there. It's hell, guys. Literal hell. So with all that being said, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching this. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you found something cool. And with all that being said, I will see you all in the 6th dimension.